backtracking. Of course. What's a game without having to backtrack to where you were, right? Oh yeah, you do actually have... There's so many different things you can do in this game. It's just... It's so cool. It also it brings back memories of how, you know, the good old days of gaming. Not to say that the games today aren't, you know, good, but it just, there's so much, like, I think before, like back in the, like the PS3 and the Xbox 360, that's when things started to change. Before then, back, you know, obviously earlier than that, and also basically up through the PS2 and the GameCube and the original Xbox. Like up to that point, I think companies were more focused on the gamer than the actual, than the money side. Obviously money is important, but I feel like companies were more focused toward making a game that appeals to gamers rather than making a game specifically for the profit. Because nowadays, what you have... Because now you have, what, microtransactions and DLC. Even, just think back to the PS2 days, when, even if things, you know, I mean, you had certain games, like, for instance, Fear, to name one, where, you know, they had expansion packs, but it's basically like a full-on game. The expansion pack, even though you have to pay it separate for it, is basically like a full-on game itself, so you're not really paying extra for, you know, you're not really paying extra for the game you already paid $60 for. Because DLC, most DLC, like, okay, granted certain games, like, for instance, I'd probably say Freedom Cry from Assassin's Creed 4, or Second Light, or not Second, First Light for Infinite Second Son, considering that those games basically had their own retail releases. I haven't played either of those, so I can't really say for sure, but if those games had their own retail releases, I would think that they're probably big enough to, you know, to basically be called kind of like an expansion pack. I'm completely lost. You know, those games could probably be, you know, they're considered big enough to be called, like, you know, the expansion packs of the old days. But most DLC, while I still buy them because, you know, if I enjoy a game enough that I want to, you know, to know more about the story, obviously I'll buy it. But, and really most DLC only costs like $10, so it's not too bad. But still, if you think about it, what are you adding onto the actual game, right? You're not really adding on that much. Like, you may be adding like 10, I don't know, like, you're probably only adding at least, or no more than like an hour's worth of content onto the game. So you're not really adding that much new things to the game. granted, a lot of them are actually really fun to play. Like the whatchamacallit, Lost in Nightmares level of Resident Evil 5. That's a DLC, but it was actually really fun, and I really enjoyed playing that. So I didn't really mind paying for it. Got it. But certain other things, it just seems like, why are you adding this extra, like, little bit of extra on? Like, why wouldn't this be, I mean, even if the developers decided to add it on later, like, they built the game, they had the game completed, and they just said, well, you know what, let's add an extra, you know, bit to the story. Like, even if they decided to do that, okay, it's nice that they did that, but why charge $10 for it? You know what I mean? Like, they're doing that. I don't think it should be cost anything. Because that's why it feels like companies are more focused on the profit side now than they were before. And like I said, obviously, money is important. It is a business. No matter what you do, most businesses, you know, I mean, money is important for anything. Even if you're like working in the hospital and you're helping people, yeah, you're helping people and that's great, but you still gotta live, right? So you still gotta make money from. You can't just, you know, work in a hospital and not expect to make anything. Gotta be quick in this area because you actually lose health in the smoke. So, anyway, what I was saying, it doesn't matter what business you're in, a business is a business, and a business needs to make money. Take cover, they've shut this place down tight! Anyway, so yeah, a business is a business. So it doesn't matter what field you're in, you gotta, you know, businesses gotta make money, because people in those businesses have gotta eat. So obviously, obviously a game developing company is still a business, so it needs to make money, and it's understandable. But I feel like, you know, back in the days of like the PS2 and the Xbox, up to that point, even when they still needed to make money, I feel like the companies were more focused on the I feel like companies were, you know, they were actually concerned, you know, they were actually concerned about their, you know, the consumers and the people who buy their product. So they were, despite needing to make money, I think they still, you know, had us gamers in mind when they were making their games. Whereas nowadays, I feel like they're focusing solely on the profit and the money side of things than anything else. And, you know, while technology-wise and everything, like I said, games today, there's a lot of great games today, don't get me wrong. For instance, The Last of Us. The Last of Us happens to be one of my top 5 games of all time. And it came out, you know, recently. So, it's not to say that new games that there aren't companies that, you know, make decent games. Big distraction.
What the hell happened? I hope you created a distraction for you. A distraction? To do anything other than ruin my roof-escape? Oh, yeah. Hold on. I think I've got something. What you need to do is find the manager's office. It's near the elevator control room you're just in. Could be a way out. From the 2nd floor. Sorry, that's the best I got. You can make it. Just call me when you get there.
I always like doing this as well. Slow-mo jump across. So, and I'm not saying that games today are terrible. But it feels like companies are more focused on making money than actually making games. You know, because, as I've said, everything is, you make a game, first, certain companies have, you know, first there are companies that actually had bastards. First, there are companies that release on-disc DLC, which is probably the most bastardist thing you can possibly do. I mean, if it's already on the disc, why the hell would you lock it and unlock it only as DLC? Like, then, like, really? I mean, you're already paying $60 for the game. You're already paying $60 for the game, and now you're gonna charge me like $10 more for something that's on the disc originally? Bullshit on that. So that's probably the worst thing you can possibly do. But then, even companies that don't do that, still, like, because just think back to the PS2, like when everything that, like, you had things that you didn't have from the beginning, but you didn't have to pay for them. You didn't have to pay to unlock them. Like fighting games. Fighting games. Why should I pay an extra like $6 or whatever for new characters in a fighting game? I mean, just think back again to the PS2 fighting. PS2 fighting. Let's think about Soul Calibur 2. breakout. Think about Soul Calibur 2. You didn't have every character in the game to begin with when you started it. You unlocked characters by doing certain things. Like, you didn't have those characters, but you unlocked them later on. You didn't have to pay for them. Nowadays, certain games actually make you pay to unlock characters. Like, really? That is another thing that I think is bullshit, and the reason why I think companies are now more focused toward making a profit than actually building a game. Where they're more focused about the money than they actually are about us gamers. Ah.